Like I said, our children will not be a burden to y'all like vice versa, because our kids live with their mama for the most part. If I take you serious with kids, your kids are going to be under my wing, which no, it's the truth. And you need to hear this, because at the end of the day, when I come, if I come home to you and you have children and you live with me, I got to bring 6 meals home instead of 2. You think I'm gonna just buy half the kids' food?
So basically,
I'm a man. I'm supposed to provide for my family. So hold on, and it gets deeper. I got to buy more bedrooms for a house. Okay, with me and you and one child, that's a 2-bedroom.
They're stressing this man out. He's stressed out.
But if you got 3-4 kids, I gotta get that's $4,000-$5,000.
So your babies ain't never coming over to visit?
Yes, they are, but
so
they don't live. They don't live there.
Your baby mama and your drummer neither.
Baby,
stop acting like y'all are. Men are not perfect. Stop it.
So,
okay,
how did she get to men are not perfect? And why is she yelling? Oh no.
It's not about being perfect. It's just, it is what it is. The truth is the truth. No matter how many kids a man has, as long as he's financially stable, he can date any woman he wants. It's not the.
I knew it was coming. I knew that was coming.
He's so predictable.
How am I predictable? It's the truth.
Because your statement always
if
back to I got the money. I got money. I got
that's
money.
My
I got
job.
money. I got money. But here's the thing. I'm gonna stop you right there. Take it away. Say God forbid tomorrow you have nothing. Then what do you have left? How are you valuable to me?
Oh,
how? Wait a minute.
Take it away.
I'm finna take it away.
They really acted like she said, "Ooh, chill."
I'm finna take it away.
Take it away.
Watch this. Now. See, when women get their back against the wall, this is the type of shit they do. They go take. Let me speak. Jesus.
Yell again.
You need them.
Man, I'm sitting here listening to y'all, and every time I speak, y'all cut me off. Can I please speak?
Go ahead, finish.
I don't even want to go speak no more. Y'all go ahead.
Go ahead. Finish.
No, go ahead.
I want to hear what you got to say.
Ah, look, it's like magic. Now they're ready to listen. You see how he's postured right there? That's the posture of a man who's given up on trying to bring a logical solution to a discussion, conversation. Maybe you've made this. Maybe you've sat just like that. You realize you're dealing with a chick who just doesn't get it. It's not making sense. There's no coffee involved. And this is also when women realize they've got you. Once you lose frame, and he didn't like lose frame in a way that's embarrassing. But what I mean is like there gets to a point when you're going back and forth with any chick. You know, hopefully it's not the woman who you're in a relationship with or married to, because that would be hell. But you know, you're having a bit of a disagreement. It gets to a point where if they can't prove what you're saying wrong, their goal is just to get you out of center and just frustrate you to the point where you inch out of frame a little bit and have to turn up. And you can see now they feel accomplished, like, yeah. Because they won the emotional argument when he was speaking nothing but facts. And now he doesn't want to talk.
I want to hear what he got to say.
No, I ain't got nothing to say. Go ahead. I'm going to let you
And you see the smiles on their face. They know chicks do this all the time in arguments, man. And the best thing you can do, if you can learn to master this, is not allow them to take you off center. And it's hard, man. It's hard.
The wall right now.
Because you the financial guy. You the guy. It's your back against the wall. Because now you always piggyback to finances. I have money. Take it away.
Okay.
How are you valuable?
How am I? Got his mind.
Hold on. No. I'm gonna tell you in the dough. Money matters when it comes to a man. My job is to protect and provide. Okay. If I can't do those two things to start with, right, I am not a man. It start with protecting and providing. Then obviously it comes with all the other shit. But let's be honest, ladies. A man can have all this integrity and all this shit y'all talking about. If he's broke, you not gonna f with him. So stop the cap. Stop it.
If you my man and you have nothing, you have no money, how are you valuable to me?
At what age are we talking? Your age right now? It does matter, because if you're young, both of y'all supposed to be broke. You're young.
Right now.
Okay. Why would you be dating a man at 40-some years old with nothing?
Right now.
Let's start there.
You the one always.
I'm asking you a question.
You still have not answered my.
over there drinking liquor when there's supposed to be coffee in that cup. None of them are listening, all triggered because he said that if you can financially provide for the kids that you have as a man, then a woman really doesn't care. But if a woman comes with a bunch of kids, she's expecting you to provide for her kids. This makes sense. All of a sudden, when it doesn't benefit the woman, money doesn't matter.
Coffee smells like shit.
Hold on.
This coffee smells like shit.
It's been a while since we've heard that one, right?
And the question is what? Say it again so I can answer it one more time. Jesus Christ. I don't understand.
You have nothing. How are you valuable to me?
Okay, so you saying if you meet a man off the back,
you have nothing. How are you valuable?
But see, that's the
what
thing.
I'm saying is this.
Not.
Hold on, butter. Because she keeps saying if you have nothing, what is the circumstance? Is you talking about you with a man? Would you let me speak? Times. Jesus Christ.
They got him again. They got him again. You see, guys, I keep bringing up the same verse that talks about how it's better to live on the rooftop than be in a house with a contentious woman. This is a visual example of what that looks like. Stressed out. This is how you will see the posturing, the knuckles on the forehead. Summer right now is a man who's making this exact same posture, and he's stressed out in a home, trapped with a modern woman. With the modern woman. And you guys want to know why men don't like having serious conversations? They don't like sitting down and having really, when you hit a guy with hey, we need to talk. You know why men hate those? It's because men typically have a harder time regulating not their moods, but bringing their moods back to baseline. In case you've wondered, like, why don't men do well with talks, intense conversations, emotionally triggering conversations, and they stay away from those? Because it takes them too long to regulate their moods. Real quick, Miss Coffee, can you talk to me about men and emotional regulation when it comes to returning back to baseline in comparison to women?
Yes, you're referring to psychological and physiological research on how men and women process and recover from emotionally intense situations, particularly conflict. Key differences in mood regulation after conflict. Men take longer to return to baseline. Studies have shown that men tend to have a longer emotional recovery period after an argument or emotionally triggering event. This is partly due to higher levels of testosterone and cortisol, which can sustain feelings of aggression or frustration longer than in women. Their nervous system is wired to stay in a heightened state of arousal, fight, or flight longer than women's, making it harder for them to self-soothe or move on quickly.
I remember hearing about this, and it's not only that they have a hard time coming back to baseline, it's that they even have more thoughts of revenge, getting even for a longer time than a woman does.
Men have more aggressive, retaliatory thoughts. Research suggests men experience more intrusive, revenge-oriented, or getting even thoughts following conflict compared to women. This is tied to evolutionary psychology, where male aggression played a role in dominance, territoriality, and conflict resolution in early human societies. Women regulate their emotions more socially. Women are more likely to talk through their emotions or seek comfort from others, helping them regulate stress faster. Oxytocin, a hormone linked to bonding and stress relief, plays a stronger role in women, helping them calm down after intense interactions. Men are more likely to withdraw or stonewall. Instead of verbally processing their emotions, men are more likely to mentally ruminate on the issue, leading to delayed emotional regulation. In relationships, this can manifest as stonewalling, shutting down emotionally while still experiencing frustration internally. Women.
Okay, let's listen to the rest of this, because I think this is so interesting. Maybe it's just me, but I really like studying this stuff.
Can move on faster, but may revisit the issue later. While women can return to emotional equilibrium faster, they might revisit the issue later because they process emotions in a cyclical way. Men, on the other hand, might
cyclical. Hey, so.
Stay stuck in the anger phase for longer before moving forward. Practical takeaways. For men,
that's men getting stuck in the anger phase, by the way.
Since aggressive thoughts linger, it helps to engage in physical activity, deep breathing, or a structured cooling off period before responding to conflict. For women, understanding that men need more time alone to reset emotionally can help manage expectations after an argument. For relationships, recognizing these differences can prevent misinterpretation. E.g., a man withdrawing doesn't mean he doesn't care. A woman wanting to talk doesn't mean she's trying to prolong the conflict. Would you like a source or reference to a specific study?
No, but thank you. Listen, so this is good. This is good because I think in a generation where people don't want to they want to blur the difference between men and women, right? And add all these other different things into the mix to confuse everything. Understanding this is crucial because, again, you can misinterpret what it may mean when a man may be having a tough day and now you want to have an argument. And I actually think to an extent, women actually know that if they can frustrate a man, he kind of stonewalls and backs off, you know? And if you're able to control your emotions well during an interaction like this, then you do better off. I'm not saying he's good or bad at this. I think people really like underestimate their ability. When you look at someone like Kevin Samuels, for example, who talked to hundreds, if not thousands of women night after night, and they think to themselves, oh, he was really short-fused at times. Like, you don't know what you would be like in that situation. Have you ever talked to thousands of women who simply just refuse to drink coffee? Do you know what that's like? If you have, then you probably know, and you can have more respect for people who actually do that.
Keep asking the question, what am I talking about?
Because you say
back on
because you listen for a second.
Your whole argument is finances. You have nothing.
Okay,
you have no finances,
once
no money.
I understand what you're saying, but you're not listening to me because you keep saying nothing. You have to put what you're saying in context. Are you saying I'm a man that was with you that fell off, or are you saying I'm a man that you met off initially and I ain't got shit? What is the scenario?
Listen, okay, so what Sabrina is saying, if you're a man coming into a relationship with her and you have no financial
but just look at his face, dog. He's hot, bro. I don't think these women know just why some men just choose to be alone sometimes, you know, unless if you're able to find a woman who can understand, you know, nice feminine energy, who can really make you feel, I mean, he's stressed out, but you would be too. I would be too. Thank goodness, you know. I'm not in this panel, but shout out to them and everything. And, you know, shout out to him too. I'd look just like that. That's why I don't do the guest stuff anymore.
Nothing to offer. What is it that you can offer her
Nothing.
as a man? Because we're saying that because you always piggyback on finances.
Yes.
What if you didn't have finances to offer? How are you valuable to a woman with no finances?
First of all, if you 40 years old and you ain't got no money, you are not valuable. You're a piece of shit. That's number one. And number two, why would you be dating a man?
I want to know why, like, if we go back here.
How are you valuable to a woman with no finances?
First of all, if you 40 years old.
Does she know there's a microphone? I don't think she knows.
And you ain't got no money, you are not valuable. You're a piece of shit. That's number one. And number two, why would you be dating a man 40-some years old that ain't got shit?
All right. So, obviously, you know, I think to an extent, if you're going to have a family, you're going to need to provide to some extent. We know in this situation, these chicks were trying to avoid accountability because most likely they have a lot of kids. Top comment here says, I got a headache for him with the face prompt. Here's somebody else who says, OMG, my head hurts. Somebody else here added, he was literally talking to brick walls. And this is a woman, you know, another woman, a lot of women on here talking. This lady says, I miss Kevin Samuels. Here's someone else who says, as a happily married woman, this man is not lying. They don't want to hear what he is saying. So combative. Here's somebody else who says he answered the question 1,000 times. They are just modern women out here who you talk to them, you realize that like, you realize that like you're a goner. There's no hope for you. And you also realize, which is the interesting thing, is you also realize you can kind of predict how their life's gonna play out. Let them tell it you don't know what you're talking about. All right, we gotta move on. We have to move on.
I'm in the process of a divorce after 8.5 years of marriage. And there's a lot that went on in our relationship that I've frankly been embarrassed about. One of them is the fact that my soon-to-be ex-husband had an affair with our marriage coach. And I'm tired of...
Oh, I don't think you guys just heard what she just said. The caption of this post says, story time. My husband had an affair with our marriage coach. Your marriage was failing. You went to go get help from the marriage coach to help you fix your marriage with your husband. And your marriage coach said, oh my goodness, there's nothing wrong with this man. And started having an affair with, she's evil, first of all. Or is she? We don't know. We don't know what the situation here is. But, that's some pretty dirty work for sure. Definitely a conversation here to be had about the TikTok dating advice and marriage coaches.
Feeling like I should be ashamed of that. I made a lot of mistakes in my relationship, but I think everyone makes mistakes in life. And I just want to go through and reflect on some of the choices that I made, because I know that I'm not alone in making some of these mistakes. And if I can caution some people to be aware of certain things and to possibly avoid some of the pitfalls that I fell into in my unhealthier version of myself, then I think it's worth it. Hindsight is 2020. And if I could do it again, I would absolutely make different choices. But here I am, 8.5 years later, with 2 amazing children who I don't regret at all.
Kids involved.
I just want to heal out loud. So if you're ready for a very interesting story that ends in tragedy for me, tragedy that I hope to laugh through, then buckle up, because we're about to get into it.
All right. So she goes on to tell this 14-part, and it's more than 14-part story. Let's read these comments real quick. Top comment here says, are you kidding me? Call her certification organization. Serious ethics violation. And she responded and says, there is no certification for coaching. Unfortunately, no amount of retaliation will undo the pain they've caused. My best revenge is to heal and move on. Somebody else here says, girl, they should be embarrassed. Definitely not you. Somebody else here added, girl, drop that name so no one should be going to that marriage coach. I see. She didn't drop the name here. So she probably doesn't want to face any, I don't know, maybe she will drop the name. I went and actually just found the part where she actually talks about how it actually happened, because I'm curious to know, right? Let's check it out.
All right. Part 14 of the story of the failure of my marriage. And that includes my husband having...
And to the people who are mad that I jumped to part 14, this is a man's channel. Men don't want to sit down and listen to a 3-day story time. Shout out to her as a content creator. I know it took time. It takes a lot to put yourself out there. Now, welcome to the jungle.
All right. Part 14 of the story of the failure of my marriage. And that includes my husband having an affair with our marriage coach. So if you haven't seen the previous parts, go watch. So this is where we go to therapy for the first time, marriage therapy. So I found someone who took our insurance, and he had secular degrees, and I guess he was a certified marriage and family therapist. And
are you telling me that your husband was caught with another man? There's no way. There's just no way. Also, it's going kind of slow. I'm going to speed this up just a bit. Just keep listening. I don't want to jump to assumptions here, but this story sounded wild so far.
in the state we lived in, but he also had a religious approach to things. So I hoped it would be a good fit. And we began seeing this person together in therapy. And this man ended up being senile. Like every time we went in, it was like Groundhog Day. He literally didn't remember anything we had spoken about in previous sessions. It was really weird. And I was going into therapy, marriage couples therapy, trying to resolve issues in our marriage. I wanted to find a way for us to come together. I felt like I was getting all this pressure from my husband, and I wanted to desperately find a way to fix our relationship and to somehow figure out how I could meet his needs. And I honestly just felt like there was something wrong with me. Clearly, I was the issue because my husband was so unhappy. And also, you know, I wasn't getting my emotional needs met. And I felt like it was because I was really shut down because of how my husband was acting towards me, right? So there's probably some truth to that. So this ends up not being a great experience for us. It was less than helpful. And you know, my husband really went into that, you know, that therapy experience, in my opinion.
It sounds like she wasn't sleeping with her husband. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like she wasn't putting out. I am still confused as where this is going so far. So I'm just going to keep listening. What do you guys think so far?
Just trying to get validation. He was so mad, and he just wanted someone to agree with him that physical intimacy is a need and that he wasn't wrong for wanting that from his wife. And he was just looking for someone to agree with him. And I really believe that my husband at the time believed that if he could just figure out a way to get physical intimacy, everything would be fine. And I don't think in my opinion, there wasn't a lot of focus on me as a person. It was me as a role. I was his wife, and that's problematic. I was also very depressed at this time, and I ended up doing telehealth therapy, just one-on-one. And this therapist was amazing. And she really was trying to get through to me in sharing that some of the dynamics of our relationship was unhealthy. She shared the circle of power and control with me. You know, there's a lot of awareness out there on physical, but when you grow up in the type of household that I grew up in, there's a lot of things that are normalized that are not healthy and that shouldn't be normal. And so I didn't realize how unhealthy some of the dynamics were in our relationship. And then all of a sudden I had awareness. I had awareness of some of the controlling and manipulative things that my husband was doing in his dynamic of wanting to be in power and control.
No way, bro. Did she go on? Okay, so it sounds like he didn't cheat with the man. Did she go and find some feminist therapist who tried to convince her that she was getting emotionally manipulated and abused in her marriage because she wasn't sleeping with her husband, and she stopped having sex with him, and the coach ended up letting him clap the cheeks? There's no way. There is no way. There's no way this is where this is headed. Wow.
No, I'll have a tea, actually.
I might have a tea. I know. Probably not.
There was definitely a power imbalance. And once I wouldn't say I was 100% aware of everything, because that kind of trickles in. Your brain really protects you from opening the floodgates because, you know, it's wired for survival. And there's no way that I could have digested the entirety of the situation. I'm still digesting the entirety of the situation without really shutting down and not being able to function. So this information was kind of trickling in, and I was becoming more aware of it. And I was angry. And my husband would make comments to me, oh, every time you have your therapy appointments, you're so mad. They're making things worse, not better. And, you know, maybe he really believed that. But also I look at that now as a tactic to try and isolate me and to try and stop me from getting that support. At this point, I had completely isolated myself. I found it difficult to get out of bed every morning. The only reason why I did was because I had two kids who depended on me. I made comments that I didn't want to be there anymore. And it wasn't that I wanted to harm myself, to be clear. I wanted the pain to stop. And it was difficult to see a way out because this was my life, and it had been my life for almost the entirety of our relationship.
Just to let you know, I have no idea where this is going. I'm just going to be honest.
And it was just a really hard reality. So we did maybe a month and a half of therapy sessions with this couples therapist. And then we actually both agreed that this person was not helpful. And so we quit going, and nothing really helped. In fact, I felt like that particular marriage therapist was actually somewhat harmful to me personally. I don't know that my husband felt harmed by it, but there was an attitude of, first of all, him very much so validating my husband at the time with, oh, of course those are needs. Any husband would want, to have physical intimacy with their wife. And then the therapist would ask me, okay, do you think you could do X, Y, or Z? And I would respond and I would say, I just don't feel comfortable with that. And it was stuff like trying to schedule, intimacy and stuff like that. Like, it was almost like if I would just try harder, then we could save this marriage. And when I would say that I didn't feel comfortable with that, or no, I don't think I can do that, he would say, well, why not? And again, this is so hurtful because I'm like, I've tried to explain some of these dynamics with you where I'm actually feeling like emotionally unsafe. And there were times where I felt physically unsafe and things bordered on being inappropriate. But this kind of played into this dynamic of me feeling like I'm this terrible wife, this terrible person, I'm not trying hard enough, and I'm the reason for all these issues. So this was very unhelpful, and we continued to limp along. And this was the first time where I really felt like our marriage wasn't going to make it. And I had almost kind of accepted that it was just going to slowly fade towards failure.
Okay. I thought she was going to tell us when he actually, hold on. We got to find here. These are all the parts. I know. You're welcome. This is a man's channel. We don't want to listen to all this. We're going right here.
Part 15 of the demise of my relationship, which includes my husband having an affair with our marriage coach.
Speed you up.
So if you've made it this far, our marriage is not in a good place. And my husband is continuing to be the executive for that company that he had moved to. And we had a failed attempt at couples therapy. And we know that within a year, the job that my husband is in is going to, the company is going to be purchased by someone else. And so there's an exit strategy there in place. And so we start thinking about if we want to stay where we are or if we want to move. And we decide together that ultimately we would love to be closer to his family, which is several states away, halfway across the United States. So, we make the decision together that we're not sure on the timeline. At that point, our daughter was in kindergarten and she went to a really great charter school. So the plan was for us to apply to some private schools in the area that we wanted to move to.
Okay.
And if our kids got into a private school, then we would move that coming summer. And if they did not, then we would stay where we were so my daughter could stay at that charter school, and we would reapply and we would move the following year.
Just things I'm getting so far, right? Their marriage isn't working, but the man seems like he provides decently. He can put the kids in private school. I know she probably works, but it sounds like he might be the breadwinner. Is what it sounds like. So he's frustrated, he's working hard, and she is not putting out. He can't get it from anywhere else, and she does not feel emotionally safe. She said some stuff about near physically abuse and stuff, but it sounds like that was something that never happened.
And we knew that if we moved sooner rather than later, that my husband was going to have to commute for work until the company was buttoned up and sold. So
what do you guys think so far? Where do you think this is headed? Comment down below.
I'm going through a really tough time. My mental health is just in the garbage right now. Our marriage is a dumpster fire as far as I'm concerned. There's a lot of resentment. There's a lot of us not connecting on any level. There's a lot of us avoiding each other just to prevent anger and confrontation. So that's our status quo. And so my husband actually is the one who does the private school applications. And this ultimately gets thrown in my face as far as more evidence of me failing to show up in this relationship. Usually the moms do this. Like, he wanted a pat on the back for like taking the initiative to do it. And I was literally incapable. Had like zero bandwidth for anything except surviving and taking care of the children. So I do appreciate it. In hindsight, I really do appreciate it. But I don't appreciate how it was used against me and kind of weaponized and thrown in my face, which unfortunately was a common occurrence at that point in time. So
he's working. He's applying for private school applications. She's going through something, but that something is her not feeling like her needs are being met within the marriage. She's obviously feeling like she's ungrateful. How would you feel right now if you were a man in this actual marriage?
So, also what had started to happen, my husband reads all these self-help books, consumes podcasts. He joins a mastermind for dads and husbands, and he becomes a self-proclaimed expert on empathy and marriage, and starts, or I guess continues, to weaponize pretty much everything that he learns against me to somehow prove that I'm the problem. He's making all these changes. He's not doing the same things that he has been doing. He's reformed. He's better. I'm not working on myself. I don't care about the relationship. Which makes me feel even worse about myself.
Why did I smile when I heard that? Because in the past, they really weren't places where husbands could go that were easily accessible. Were they there in small pockets? But now men have platforms. Yes, they have the coffee pods. Regardless of how you feel about these other platforms, who usually can empathize with the man and where he's coming from more, who can sit down and go, yeah, I can understand if you want your wife to sleep with you, that's your wife, right? And if you haven't yet, consider joining Brew Brothers. We've got a lot of stuff coming up. We're talking about some crypto pretty soon in there. We have our guest returning in there. This Brew Brothers. Just keep listening. Link pinned to the top of the comment section.
Even though I had done individual therapy, we had gone to couples therapy. I was trying to confront some of the childhood trauma that I had experienced as well, which I know, contributed to some of the dynamics that had been created in our marriage. Even it affects you. So, in retrospect, that wasn't true. I am a highly sensitive person. I have a ton of empathy, and probably a little neurospicy if I'm going to be honest. But that's me. And dealing with someone who is very manipulative and coercive and controlling and unkind for most of our relationship was really hard on me. And I chose to stay in that dynamic, and it really, really took a toll on me and my mental health and my physical health too. So anyway, so my husband proceeds to try and mansplain, how, he has all this empathy and I have none. And he's, somehow, like made all these improvements and I've made none. And ultimately that wasn't true. But, at the end of the day, our daughter, who was going into first grade the following year, she did end up getting accepted off of the waitlist into one of the schools. And so we decided that we were going to move over the summer. And my son did not get in, but he was in pre-K. So we weren't so worried about that. He could go to a different little preschool or daycare and we could reapply, and then he would have a sibling. So that would, I guess, raise his likelihood of getting in before.
You guys think she's a stay-at-home mom? I'm getting that vibe, but I'm not sure.
Kindergarten. So we decided to move. And that meant that my husband was going to need to commute. And his new schedule was going to be that he would only be where we were on the weekends. So once we did move to that new state, he flew in late Thursday night and he arrived after midnight. So he was basically coming in early Friday, and he had to fly back out to his previous job Sunday evening or Sunday afternoon. So he was gone more than he was home. This helped our marriage in some ways because there was significantly less conflict.
Right.
And I was kind of used to doing everything on my own anyway.
She's going to need that cat for later.
We did hire someone to help me pick up the kids and to be a live-in nanny. And
so this man works, has your kids in private school. He's hiring nannies, and he's still getting no cheeks so far. It's not looking good for her. It's not looking good for her as far as the assessment of this. But comment down below, man. Comment down below. I'm curious. Hopefully here we're going to get to a conclusion.
That was helpful, especially since my mental health was in the dumps. But eventually that relationship ended up, that nanny and my husband ended up triangulating that relationship and basically turning that person against me and weaponizing that against me too, which was extremely hurtful because her and I were fine. And then, I was in a major depressive episode, and she would go behind my back and kind of talk to my husband about her job roles and stuff like that instead of talking directly to me. And instead of really fostering that relationship, I felt like my husband kind of utilized that as a way to, as evidence that I'm terrible at relationships and that I've ruined that relationship too. And that, of course, there's something wrong with me if someone doesn't feel comfortable talking to me. And
so everyone's taking your husband's side, and he's just a puppet master manipulating everybody. And everybody that meets this man is like, you know what? This guy's kind of cool. But he's the problem because he has to be a manipulator. You guys listening to this? Now, I may be wrong here. There may be some crazy shit that comes way far left. And I'm like, whoa. So I'm saying that right now, just in case.
Whenever he would bring up issues in our relationship, he would use that person as someone who agreed with his point of view, whether it was true or not. Half the time, I don't think it was true. He would just say, oh, this person agrees too that you're, being unreasonable in some way. So things are devolving now.
Damn. Well, she's got us here clicking. Here's her page in case you want to go show her some love.
Story time. This is part 16 of the story of the end of my marriage, which includes my husband having an affair with our marriage coach. So this is the part where we actually hire the marriage coaches. So we finally made it this far. We are set.
I ran out of coffee. I'll be right back. All right, we're back.
7, maybe 7.5 years into our marriage. We have 2 children together, and he still has his daughter from his previous marriage. And we've moved, and our 7, maybe 7.5 years into our marriage. We have 2 children together, and he still has his daughter from his previous marriage.
Okay.
And we've moved, and he's only in town where we live, where the kids and I live on the weekends. And this dynamic is now becoming something that is very frayed, and it's on the verge of breaking. And after that previous experience with the old senile couples therapist, when we were previously in the other state, I was pretty closed off to, couples therapy because that was harmful. That was harmful to my mental health. And I didn't have it in me to have something not only not help our relationship, but to make it worse. So after some persuasion, my husband convinces me to hire marriage coaches. He tells me that coaches are better than therapists because they are action oriented. Therapists just want to listen, but coaches are action oriented. And this is the solution that we need.
I don't know. I don't know about all that. I think therapy works. Sometimes, actually more often than not, therapy fails. That's the honest truth. But I still believe, people find help there. I've been helped by therapy before. Personally, I even have a whole introduction to therapy in Brew Brothers. You can hit the link at the top of the comment section. But, and as an all-saving solution, they don't have a good track record. Most of them don't drink coffee.
Famous last words. So this is really the beginning of the end. Now, things had been devolving pretty much since the beginning. But this really is, to me, when everything starts to come to a head. So this is a husband and wife. Right. The husband is a licensed marriage and family therapist in another state, it doesn't matter whether he's licensed or not. It doesn't matter if he's licensed in the state where we reside or not, because we are not hiring a therapist. We are hiring coaches. The wife, I'm still unclear as to whether or not she has a degree, but she certainly is not from the mental health field. She's a woman of the arts, which is fine. We knew that going in. They have, or had, I don't know, a podcast. So I was able to listen to their podcast. And the birth of their coaching really was from...
Is she going to reveal the podcast? Story's wild, bro.
Issues that they had personally experienced in their marriage. And so, it seemed like they had gone through a lot, and it seemed like their marriage was strong and that they were able to actively navigate difficulties. And so it seemed legitimate.
Right.
And this was not a cheap service. So we paid a lot of money, and we signed up for 12 weeks and we went through it, and we did have to do exercises, and it was very action oriented. And then once a week we would have a Zoom call, again, because they did not live in the same state as us. So we would have a Zoom call, and then we also had access to them via call, text, and voice messaging services to kind of work through anything, like any conflict that arose. We could work through kind of in semi-lifetime. And we could also navigate some of the exercises that they were having us do. And so the way that it was designed, the way that their services were designed was for the husband of this, the husband coach to work with the husband and for the wife coach to work with the wife, which made a ton of sense to me. Okay. Unfortunately, that isn't how things ended up happening. The husband of this coaching dynamic still had a 9-to-5 and was less available. And also, in my opinion, was not wasn't very connected. I don't know how else to describe it. Like we would show up to our Zoom calls and he would just kind of show up unprepared. The wife really was the one doing the heavy lifting. She was the one who was assigning our homework. She would send out the recap emails. She would like coordinate everything logistically. She was the one more often than not that was responding to either one of us. And so it kind of became a dynamic where my husband and I were both reaching out and conversing with the wife.
Red flag number one, as far as I'm concerned. You know, you got a wife there who's leading, it sounds like, the marriage, in my opinion. Comment down below. This is crazy.
And, you know, it's hard to say whether or not that was right or wrong, but where, in my opinion, where things started to really take a hard left and to start to cross lines is when my husband at the time started talking about what he wanted to do in his next venture after this company he was working for was going to, be acquired by someone else. He knew that it was going to come. And he was starting to kind of look forward to that. And he really wanted to do something, kind of philanthropic. And so he started sharing that with these people, which is fine. I don't think that in and of itself is an issue.
Ooh, and the marriage coach heard those numbers and dollar signs, saw that he has the kids in private school. He's providing a better life than her husband. And she jumped ship.
Drink the coffee. It'll make you feel better.
We're not ready for that coffee. Mercy.
But this lady, the marriage coach lady, started kind of talking about how she had similar aspirations and how she wanted to write a book and how they should work together and how he should help her write this book. And so what began as a professional relationship where we hired this couple.
They were writing books, all right.
For marriage coaching services began to cross a boundary into friendship land. And I didn't know at the time, I didn't understand what healthy boundaries looked like between someone providing marriage coaching services and a client. So I didn't realize this was a red flag, but, and again, nothing was hidden from me. This, like, my husband and this woman would have Zoom calls, and I would walk in and they would be on a Zoom call and they would be talking about this project that they wanted to work on. And, they would both invite me in to their conversation and we would say hi. And I thought that this woman was becoming my friend, again, which is another boundary that was crossed, right? But there was nothing that was secretive about it. I was always in the loop about it. My husband shared his calendar with me. I knew when they were talking to each other. So nothing seemed nefarious, right. But I would soon find out that this was the beginning of something that would ultimately be very harmful to our relationship. So this was the beginning of the end.
So imagine you're sitting there and you're explaining to a woman who looks like she was seizing the opportunity here about the issues you're going through. And she knows this man hasn't had any cheeks. He hasn't slept with anybody in a while because doesn't sound like there's any cheating involved until you met the very, 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 in my opinion, nasty, conniving marriage coach who was supposed to be there to help, but instead decided to put the nail in the coffin in this family and situation. This is crazy. Also, there's this whole thing about, should you deny your husband? And what if you're going through something emotionally? I think for men, because this is how men see it, right? There's no situation where most women would be as forgiving as they think they would if a man decided not to provide for his family because he was going through something. You know how many times men get up, go to work, and follow through when they're near questioning existence, having existential crises, experiencing disrespect? Maybe their own children don't respect them in their own lives. But they're out there providing for their families. And they know not to think that any excuse of going through something mentally would be forgivable. Here it sounds like we have a person who's highly successful and another woman who was cutthroat, had no problem doing what she did. I did not think I'll be, look at me, I'm all in it. I'm going to the next part. I'm like, let's go to part 17.
All right.
Oh, no. Do we skip a part?
Story
Oh,
time.
no. This is not it.
Welcome to my story of the demise of my marriage, which includes my husband having an affair with our marriage coach.
Let's see. Let's read these comments. I'm so early. 50 minutes ago. Anyways.
So this is part 17. If you've missed the previous 16 long-winded parts, please go watch them. So at this point, we've crossed boundaries with these marriage coaches and they have become our friends. However, they are on the payroll, so we're paying them. We're basically bought some friends. This is amazing, right? It was not amazing. So, my husband and the wife marriage coach are collaborating on wanting to write a book, and we invite this couple and their family out to where we live to visit. And so they come visit us for a week, and you know, I'm a gracious host,
right,
and we go to dinner, and we have my daughter's birthday party, and their daughter ends up having the same birthday but different year. And so they literally attend our daughter's birthday party. We go to like theme parks. We really become fully I also just realized that I didn't even and I'm gonna speed her up too again, but I just realized that I didn't even mention that the other woman is cheating on her husband. Evil shit. Professionality that once existed has now flown firmly out the window, and we are fully in friendship land, and I am completely delulu, and this is embarrassing. This is fully embarrassing for me to admit, because this is where the real Jerry Springer stuff starts to happen. Like, I cannot believe that this became my life and that I allowed it to happen, but I liken it to the lobster. You put the lobster in the pot and the water's cold, and then you start turning on the stove. And before you realize it, the water's boiling. And so this was the beginning. Like, I'm the lobster in the water, and everything is this is tap water at this point. But the stove is turned on, and before I know it, this is going to be a full-blown inappropriate relationship, and I'm going to be in way over my head. So they come out to visit, and again, my husband is looking forward to the time when he is going to be able to be separated from his corporate job, and he's going to be able to be his own boss. And he's super excited to work on a project or projects that are near and dear to his heart and that are more philanthropic minded. And so he ends up extending a job offer to the husband in this marriage coach dynamic. He wants him to be in a leadership position to help him get a facet of this business up and running. And so the husband is a little hesitant because this is a startup and he's used to working a 9-to-5 in a very secure job, and it requires moving across the United States, because we live in a different state than them. But
we've gone through a lot here. Just want to let you know, the man start off, the husband who's not getting laid in his marriage, start off providing private schools, works for a company here. They're about to exit strategy. And he's obviously sounds like he might be invested in the company. So some returns there, or he has a pretty good financial situation set up. He's well off, right? They're hiring nannies. They're not on here complaining about finances at all, like the chicks we usually see struggling. And he's going through his own shit. What do you guys think so far?
Ultimately, he ends up accepting the job offer, and then this couple and their 3 children, they end up beginning the process of moving.
And he's employing a whole other family.
And if ever the red flag started, it was here. I am completely embarrassed to say that I was fully involved in continuing to encourage this relationship dynamic. I was, the husband was having doubts about whether or not this was the right move. And my husband and I, and this marriage coach's wife, the other marriage coach, we were all really heavily encouraging this man because we all believed that this was the right move for them and that we were all just going to sing kumbaya, hold hands, and do trust falls, and that our families would become best friends. And like, what could go wrong? Everything ended up going wrong. So eventually, they're convinced, fine. And so their daughter, which is their youngest child, was homeschooled at the time, and their sons went to school. And so they needed the sons to wrap up their school year, and also the husband had to give proper notice at his 9 to 5
Right.
before moving. But the wife and the daughter were free to move whenever. So the decision was made for them to the husband came out for about a week, and there were meetings to kind of start this business and to define his role. And while he was out here, he had signed a lease, and so he was really getting the ball rolling. And then the wife and the daughter ended up moving in with us until this lease on their new home began. Now, when this woman and her daughter came to stay with us, it was only supposed to be for like less than a week before they were supposed to gain access to their rental home. It ended up being that there were many issues. And again, these should have been deterrents. It was like, I should have listened to my gut. I should have listened to the Holy Spirit. I should have listened to every blaring siren and horn and red flag that was waving in front of me. But I did not. Again, I don't know. I think I was deep into denial and self-abandonment, and I didn't realize that there were any issues at this point. Okay. But it became very obvious very quickly as soon as this wife and her daughter came to live with us for a period of time that
Right.
What we thought was a very healthy, strong relationship between these marriage coaches was not. It was not healthy, and they were heavily struggling. And at this point in time, we had kind of stopped using them as marriage coaches. We had paid for an extra few sessions, and we had used them. And then it's not that we thought that our marriage was all of a sudden better. It was that now that we had become friends with this couple, we were kind of, by virtue of being friends with them, receiving free services, but also we were giving back to their family by like hiring the husband. So he was going to be on the payroll. So again, ethically, like that wasn't a great idea. And I didn't even realize at the time that a line had been crossed. Several lines probably at that point had been crossed, but it's just what happened. And so this wife is like this person who was in a position of power in being our former marriage coach is like sobbing to my husband and I about some really difficult dynamics in her relationship and how she felt very mistreated by her husband and how he wasn't supporting her and stepping up. And he was being very difficult in this process of trying to work together and move across the country. And, he was being an irresponsible parent in some ways. And it was just really like difficult. And so there was a role reversal that happened where my husband and I were basically providing support to this.
I'm getting to the point where I just want her to get to the point here with like, when did you find out?
Lady and to this other couple. Meanwhile, my husband and this lady were working together very closely on this other project, and their relationship at that point ended up becoming closer than her and I's relationship. And I noticed that, and I didn't feel comfortable with it. And so what I tried to do was, again, I decided that I needed to step up and be a better friend to her, and that I needed to step up and be a better wife to my husband individually. I needed to attack this on two fronts because obviously I'm the problem.
So at this point, it sounds like she's realizing that something probably might be going on. There's a lot of things you could say here. This next video is the last one I'm going to play. Last one I'm going to play. I don't care if she gets to the point with where it actually happened. It's the last one. There's that group of people who are going to look at this and go, all this could have been solved if you slept with your husband, is what it sounded like when you didn't deny him. There's that other group that's going to say, doesn't matter what situation the relationship was in, the person to blame here is that marriage coach and the husband. I really think, from me hearing this chick tell her story and everything, that her mindset was just set up for failure, right? The fact that it sounded like she got help from some like real feminist therapist earlier, and it's I'm hearing a lot of modern women agreeance in the way that she thinks. Let's keep listening. Last video.
Part 18 of how my marriage devolved.
How did we get here?
And we're in the process of a divorce, and my husband ended up having an affair with our marriage coach. So where we left off was all red flags. So this marriage coach lady and her daughter have moved in with us for what was supposed to be a few days before their rental was ready. There are so many issues, too many to count. And they had a rental property fall through, and then they ended up getting a new rental property, and it was in the process of being painted. And then the homeowner's belongings were still in there, and it was in no state to be ready to move into. So we extend the offer for them to continue staying with us. Meanwhile, the husband marriage coach who is supposed to begin working with my husband has made it glaringly obvious that he is not equipped to be in the leadership position that he had originally accepted. So my husband is freaking out at this point because he's extended an offer to someone who he feels like cannot perform the job. And these people are in the middle of a move. Like the wife and their daughter is living with us, and they're trying to find a home, and he's put in notice to quit his job. So the solution, my husband decides that he's going to rescind the offer to the coach husband, and he's going to offer the coach wife a different position within his company. It's going to be a completely different position.
This man's offering positions, is keeping kids in private school, dealing with the wife who's refusing to put out. I'm just listen, we're hearing a lot of the wife talking right now. I'm trying to put you in the man's position. A lot on his plate.
Still necessary. He was going to have to hire someone to do this anyway, but he's going to just offer the same salary so that, because they'll be a one-income family, and it will give the husband time to get a job locally and all that good stuff. So that's the solution. So the plan continues for them to move. Eventually, what ends up happening is their older two children end up finishing school and they fly out. So now we've got the coach wife and her 3 children staying with us. Okay. They would end up living with us for about 6 weeks. And during this time, my husband and this coach wife would work together. They would drive into work, and because she didn't have a car, and commute together and work together. And I was relegated to childcare. I was waking up her daughter.
They're like, hey, go take care of the kids. Grown-ups there have some stuff to do. Sounds like she was a stay-at-home mom. I haven't heard anything about clocking into a job once. Not one time did I hear anything about clocking into a job. Am I right? Might be wrong. I haven't heard anything about I went to work. No. This chick, soon to be ex-wife, is a kept woman.
Making breakfast for all these children, my 2 kids and, her children. I was signing her daughter up for the same summer camps as our kids and dropping her off, and like basically being another parent. And there was really little to no awareness on this woman's part. She said one time, oh, she felt bad that I had to get her daughter up. Then why don't you wake your daughter up? Why don't you, my husband's over there like, we need to leave early at, 7 a.m. so that we can get into the office and get all this work done. Maybe you should leave a little later so you can wake your daughter up and feed her breakfast and pack her lunch. Like, why am I the only one concerned with taking care of your kids? This is weird. Okay. Also, so I confide in my husband, just one-on-one, that I'm feeling really like taken advantage of, and that this dynamic is not working. I'm feeling overloaded. It's enough to have my 2 children, but I didn't realize I was going to be taking on other kids. And also having house guests for this long was stressful. It just is. It's just stressful. And he was very unsympathetic. He kind of blamed me and said, well, no one asked you to do that. And I said, well, no one asked me, but I'm not going to allow a child to go hungry. I'm trying to be pragmatic. And
this chick's only job was to feed the children. Yeah, they're over there starting companies. They're people are doing adult things. No, I'm not going to minimize the job of a wonderful mother. I love mothers. They do a good job, especially if they do a good job within a marriage. I'm not saying it's an insignificant thing, but you can't compare it to what's going on outside of what she's talking about.
Do the right thing for these kids, and having her, 12-year-old daughter sit at home all day by herself when she could be going to a summer camp and being involved in something that's meaningful and fun seemed better to me. And, again, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to admit that I put myself in that position, but I did. So my husband was unsympathetic and he basically blamed that on me. And then I also like cringe when I think that I was literally crying to my husband about the fact that I felt like this woman who I thought was my friend was not acting like a friend to me. If I wanted to hang out with her, I had to initiate it. Like she never initiated it back. And yet she would speak all the time to my husband about all of her marital problems and all that stuff. And I felt like both my husband and this marriage therapist wife were both pulling away from me, and I felt extremely isolated, and I was being completely gaslit by my husband.
She realized what was going on. He finally got some cheeks.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
When I confided in him about this, that, oh, that wasn't the dynamic, I'm just imagining it. So at this point in time, they had been staying with us for 5 weeks or so, and it was time for our family to go on a family vacation with my husband's brother and his wife and all of their children. We had rented an Airbnb somewhere. We were going to be driving, and so I was excited. I was excited to get a break. I was excited to be able to focus on my own family. I was excited to have my husband, and I was determined at this point to really work on the relationship between my husband and I. Right before we left for this trip, I remember sobbing uncontrollably to my husband. I was in the middle of a mental breakdown, and I told him, I feel like you're having an affair right in front of me. I'm watching you have this relationship with this person right in front of me. You choose, like he actively chose her, and he avoided me right in front of me. Again, he was not trying to hide anything. This woman was not hiding anything from me. This was happening lifetime in front of my face, and it was incredibly hurtful. And I told him that. I told him as much. And he basically gaslit me into he didn't even deny it, actually, which in retrospect is so telling. He didn't say, oh no, I'm not having an affair. What he actually said was, well, of course I would rather spend time with her. She is happy all the time. She makes me feel like a better person, or she makes me a better person. And the amount of hurt that caused. So by the time we leave for vacation, I'm so over this dynamic. And I'm like, this is it. I have to save my marriage. Again, fawning, again, completely abandoning myself. Why did I put up with this? Why didn't I leave? I truly do not know. But we go on vacation, and I don't know what I did. I don't know how, but I was able to completely compartmentalize these issues, these long-standing issues with physical intimacy. And my husband and I were able to reconnect on so many levels. On our way driving to this.
So it sounds like on the vacation, you finally decided to sleep with your husband, but by now it sounds like it's too late.
Airbnb, several-hour drive. My husband opens up and he tells me basically that this is a make it or break it trip for him. He basically has one foot out the door, and he's thinking that the best thing for us and for our relationship is for us to just separate at this point.
Boy, oh boy.
I hear this and I double down on our relationship because I don't want us to lose our family. I feel like I haven't done everything I could yet. And so I found the whole time. Meanwhile, my husband is leaving for hours at a time to go have private phone calls with this marriage coach woman and to hear her sob story about how awful her husband is. And I'm trying to be supportive in the background. And the dynamic doesn't get better with the marriage coach, but for a little bit, our marriage does get slightly better.
I told you guys I'm not gonna, that's it. Yeah. It doesn't sound like things worked out because, the whole title is that she's now divorced and everything. I don't think I'm wrong for taking the stance. I mean, this is a really effed up situation, let's be honest. Like, there are multiple people in this who are going to be destroyed. My hope is that if it's possible, they work out their marriage, right? For the sake of their kids. And I think that is best. I do want to say that where I stand here is I think a lot of chicks don't understand how much withholding physical intimacy affects a marriage. And especially when you have a man who sounds like he is a man of value. Now, don't get in your feelings about moral issues when it comes to value, right? Because a lot of people hear that and they think, well, if a man of value wouldn't cheat on his wife. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about strictly when it comes to what he brings, let's say financially. Well, why are we even worrying about that? Because this is what we see over and over again. We just saw a video of, hey, all of a sudden when the money comes up, it doesn't matter in a situation like this. You know who it matters to? The chicks who don't have it. When you got a man like that and other women are thinking to themselves, would I put out if I was in her situation? She's probably thinking like, if I had this, the nannies, the man who's starting a company and business, putting kids in private school, I wouldn't care. I'm putting out no matter how I feel because he's going to work no matter how he feels. You can look at that and say, I'm blaming this wife. And you might be right to a degree. But I'm very, very, very curious for you guys to give your honest feedback on this one. Because, and I'm glad I'm talking about this right now because I just thought about another thing. The reason why this was probably a make it or break it trip for him is because he probably knows that he can't start this company not sure if he's going to get divorced unless if she signs some type of a post-nup or something like that. Right? This is the power of prenuptial agreements. With that being said, if you are a man today who values marriage and plans to get married, make sure you protect yourself. And to help you can head over to fathershaverights.com and get the #1 guide to drafting a solid and legally binding prenuptial agreement with offer code review for free, right? Showing you the elements that are needed to create a solid and legally binding prenuptial agreement with expert attorneys, along with other information in there that you probably appreciate. Do that while you still can. I see a lot of guys who are enrolling. I see some guys who just have, like opted in to receive marketing emails. Guys, go ahead and enroll. Also, get in there. And I want you to get in there while you still can during this time when it's available for free, right? It's 100% free. And you have it for a lifetime. I wanted to make sure I did this for my subscribers, guys. What a crazy story. Appreciate you guys, as always, for checking out another episode of The Coffee Pod. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.